Let's see. Yes, I did promise I would do a new episode if you guys hit 300 likes. Let's take a little look. And, oh, 299. Well, I guess I'll just do that. Congratulations, guys. You hit the like goal on what is Subaru was a shadow dragon slayer, which means part 6 can now finally come out. Anyway, if you guys are new to this series and my channel in general, because I don't get recommended as much as I used to, I'd really appreciate if you would go to top upper right hand corner, look for a little iCard and find the playlist so you can catch up on the prior 5 parts. We had a part come out just around a week ago. And yeah, so you can catch up to this beautiful, shadowy story about an edgy dragon boy. Anyway, to not keep you preoccupied any longer, let's get started with what if Subaru was a shadow dragon slayer. Part 6. Julius was sent flying into the wall. Having only expected to play with this kid who had dared to offend the royal assembly, he was shocked to find himself in this position. Having been completely knocked the wind out of, his sternum feeling shaky from the fists that Subaru had planted there, the entire stands of knights were outraged. A single punch having sent Julius flying across the entire room and slamming into the building. The actual building beginning to shake from the damage. Julius falling to the ground in a crater in the wall being left behind him from the impact. Subaru would hold his fist up to his chin, rubbing the dust off of the top of his fist with it, as he then spits to the side, telling Julius to get up. The knights in the stand would be booing and throwing things at Subaru, calling him a cheat, saying that he used some unfair advantage against Julius. Others would be cheering Julius on to kick this guy's ass, and put him in his place beneath the Knights of Lagunica. While Subaru was downstairs having a party, Reinhardt would have not accompanied him there, already having an idea of what the outcome would be. But knowing Subaru's character enough from when they had first interacted, Reinhardt wasn't worried anyone was going to die. Too much. He wasn't quite sure at this point. Anyway, Reinhardt would be preoccupied with his own business as an Estrella, that being his family's backing of a new candidate for the royal selection. This being Felt. Felt having been proven by him last time when they were at the slums, that the dragon insignia would react to her, meaning she was proven worthy as a potential candidate for the king of Lagunica. Uncle Ram would have broken in to try and save Felt, after Subaru had left by this point, might I add, and would have caused a whole another commotion because most of the knights had left to go watch Julius's beatdown of Subaru. Julius supposed to be, of course, dominating over Subaru by this point, for his utter incompliance and actions against the royal court and all the royal knights who were there. However, the less precocious knights, and the ones who would actually care about their opinion and view as being nobles, who would want to continue as if though nothing had happened, would have stayed to watch the rest of the selection as normal. They would be the ones, including Reinhardt, to have to protect Felt when Ram would come storming in. And by Ram, I don't mean Ram as in Ram, like Rem's sister. I mean Old Man Ram, double M, big O. For those of you who don't know who that is, that's the guy who ran the slum outpost back where he was trading items and weapons and all the like before Elsa tried to, kill everyone in there. And I'm fairly sure he had survived since Subaru was there. Anyway, I digress. Back to the Julius on Subaru beatdown, quote-unquote. Julius will be swinging his sword at Subaru now, attempting to use more of his power and tapping into the spirit arts, not holding anything back after feeling the strength of that first blow. Subaru's love tap. Subaru would have slits in his eyes, golden flecks in them. This draconic trait is something that appears in all the Dragon Slayers throughout Fairytail when they get really serious. Subaru would be glancing blows from Julius' sword off of his fist, the knights booing every time that Subaru successfully parried against Julius' attacks. Julius would take a step back, Subaru also doing the same, as Julius would then use a ranged attack using a flame spirit. Julius getting actually aggravated by Subaru at this point, having tried to make this quick and painless. But he was beginning to realize this was going to be anything but. Julius would blast a flame towards Subaru, telling him that he should just give up and take his dignity while he still has it. Subaru would smirk, saying, If there's anyone here who's gonna be giving up. Subaru would then hold his hand out, as a shadow would envelop the entire flame, consuming it in darkness, and causing the sparks and embers to wither away, the light fading into nothingness, pure black. I think you'll find the one who's gonna be giving up this match first. It will be you. Subaru would then grab his fist with his hand, pulling it out in a straight line and swinging it, as the darkness he had manipulated would turn to a shining black sword. Subaru dulling the edge, not here trying to kill Julius, just teach a lesson to all these useless knights who were making fun of his friends. They couldn't possibly understand how much Emilia's appearances affected her. Appearances were something Subaru had given up a long time ago, but just because Emillia still cared, that meant that Subaru would care about her feelings. Subaru would not deny what he had heard. Subaru, under the feint of laughs and snickering in that room, he could hear, he could even feel the vibrations of her lip quivering on his skin, of Emillia being strong and holding back anything that she was feeling, trying to block it all out. The pain, the suffering, all of the memories she's had because of it. All of it. Subaru would take his left fist and punch into the ground, holding his black blade in the other hand, the ground shattering underneath his fist as he looks up, his eyes meeting Julius. If this is what you think strength is, making fun of other people for no reason, flaunting your power, it sounds like it's about time for me to put you back all in your place. After all, you're fighting a dragon. From Julius's perspective, Julius could see a dark dragon following behind Subaru. Julius would begin to feel sweat trickling down the side of his face, his cheek, as he would swear that he could hear the screaming. No, the roar of a dragon. Julius wouldn't be holding back, saying Subaru's proven it to him switching to his iron blade, pulling it from his side, telling Subaru to come at him. Subaru moving off of the ground would cause it to turn to dust beneath his feet, as the roar, the sound of him coming, would have hit after his arrival, surpassing the speed of sound, his arms crossed as he slashes at Julius, Julius using spirit magic blocking the blow. The spirit magic and dragon slayer magic colliding would cause a huge explosion. Flames, ice, water, and wind, all mixing as tornadoes of magical power, would be spinning and destroying the entire underground dungeon and stadium. Knights in the background would actually begin getting hit, as they begin to pull out their swords to come after Subaru, saying this heresy has gone on for far too long. As everyone would then come at Subaru, Julius telling them to stay back, saying this is their duel, their fight. Julius would move forward, now taking the initiative to attack, swinging his sword down onto Subaru. Everyone breathing out a gasp as it seems Subaru would have taken the blade to his face from a side swing. Julius being worried he might have just killed Subaru, he then realized, as he looks down and sees his sword shaking, Subaru would have caught Julius's sword with his teeth. His teeth being harder and stronger than the steel that he was biting down on, Subaru would bite down, shattering the steel as he spits all the metal out. Subaru would then take this opportunity while Julius was caught off guard to throw a punch at Julius's arm, shattering it. Julius getting sent flying back and his sword clattering out of his hand to the ground. 20 minutes later, the end of the royal selection had arrived. This is when Amelia would get out of her seat and begin running towards that hallway where she had seen all the knights in Subaru go. Roswaal would be smiling and laughing, while Rem and Ram would wait at his side. Amelia trying to go and stop whatever was happening to Subaru right now, because he was trying to defend her. That idiot. Amelia would come running down the stairs and going into the dark hallway, as she'd see the door in front of her open and close. And standing there would be Subaru, laughing as he was walking out the door, with cuts, scrapes, wounds, and blood all over him, laughing as he shut the door, saying that was more fun than he expected. Amelia would be shocked, saying, Subaru? Subaru would turn to Amelia, saying, oh, you're here. I was just about to go back to the hall, but I sort of lost my shirt. Amelia would push past Subaru and look into the doorway, where she'd see an entire pile of knights, broken swords, and Julius laying on the ground holding his arm. Blood all over the stadium and the entire stands destroyed. Subaru saying that they were just having a little bit of a disagreement. This is where Amelia would say what she had said to the original Subaru, saying that he didn't have to prove anything, and that this was her fight, and that she was here for her royal selection, This is why she didn't want him to come with to begin with. Amelia would have all this spite and hatred in her voice, but unlike the original Subaru, who couldn't handle it, who had no social experience or skills, who felt worthless, this Subaru would simply stand there smiling with his eyes closed. This would only annoy Amelia even more, yelling at him to say something for what he's done here. Suddenly, Subaru's smile would drop, his eyes opening as he has now a serious look on his face, looking at Amelia. Subaru would slowly raise his hand, touching Amelia's left ear, Amelia being shocked, asking what is he doing? Subaru would just whisper under his breath, "You heard it too, right?" Subaru would drop his hand, saying that maybe you didn't want me to do it, but I'm not just gonna stand by and let people make fun of my friends. If it was you, Rem, or even Ram, I'm never gonna let the people that I care about ever again. Subaru's voice would catch in his throat, remembering that scene that he had come home to find himself powerless to the people he cared about being taken away from him. The gawkers and ongoers looking past, seeing the police sirens, reflections in his glass windows of his childhood home. Subaru would look at Amelia, saying that that's his conviction. Amelia would be shocked, not knowing how to respond to this. Something that Subaru had said would have resonated with her deeply, but she had no idea why. Amelia's memories of her childhood were all but completely gone, but when Subaru said that hollow sound in his voice, something rang true through her. Amelia would look down, saying she's not going to forgive him for this, saying that she's going to... Amelia would turn from Subaru and start walking down the hall, stopping before she turns and says, "I'm not happy with what you did, but thanks." Subaru would have a little smile on his face before Amelia turned back around and said, and started walking off, saying he'll have to clean up after his own mess and apologize to everyone, or she's not going to let him come back to the mansion. Subaru would clasp his hands together, saying, "Well, if that's all I gotta do to set things right, I would have just started with that." Amelia would walk off as Subaru would turn back, looking at the pile of unconscious guys laying there in the big mosh pile in the stadium. As Subaru was about to turn, Reinhardt would be standing next to him. "Well, it looks like you had some fun in here." "Well, if it isn't that red-haired guy, huh? Couldn't finish me off while I'm worn down and weak?" Subaru would grab his arm, saying, "You know, if you really come at me right now, I probably could still win. You know, make it a little fair for you." When Subaru says this, Reinhardt would get a huge grin on his face before he started giving a huge belly laugh, echoing throughout the whole room. You notice his eyes wincing as he sees Reinhardt laughing and holding Subaru's shoulder. Subaru would get pissed by this, holding his fist up, telling the red hair to come at him. While Reinhardt's laughing, Subaru would stop his assault with him and Reinhardt's banter before telling Reinhardt thanks. We go back to the scene where everyone was laughing at Amelia in the throne room. Something distinctly Subaru had noticed was that Reinhardt, this red-haired guy, didn't even have a smile on his face, just standing there stoically, watching it all around him. And that actually built a little bit of respect from Subaru, not giving in to the peer pressure of everyone around him, not conforming to society's roles and dictating who's good and who's bad. Maybe you're not some goody two-shoes after all. What was it again? It's Reinhardt. Subaru would give him a handshake, saying, "Well, I'll try to remember this time." Reinhardt: "Well, I'll let you off the hook since I am feeling a bit tired, but just so you know, if you had decided to join them down here, you'd probably be ending up looking like them." Reinhardt would say that he would be careful to avoid that. Reinhardt would walk into the room before closing the door behind him, a blinding light encompassing him as he would use one of his divine protections, Subaru not having any idea what he is doing, with him wishing for a divine protection to allow him to heal others. A healing type of protection. Reinhardt would then walk out of the room as Subaru looks now back, seeing everyone in the room being healed. Subaru gawking at Reinhardt, asking what he just did. He just took all of his hard work away. Reinhardt would smile and laugh again, flicking back at Subaru, who would then have all of the light magic redirected to heal him. "Huh? What? You just... God, you are so annoying. You're insufferable, you know that?" "They could have at least dealt with it for a little while," Subaru would grumble, as he and Reinhardt would walk down the hallway back together to climb the stairs and ascend back to the castle. Reinhardt would decide to lend Subaru a cloak from one of the knight's cabinets, saying that it looks good on him. Subaru would blush a little bit, saying he's just saying that, as he'd whistle, telling Reinhardt thanks for the clothes. Oh, yeah, before I forget. Subaru waved to Reinhardt, thanking him, saying he has to go and fulfill Lady Emilia's orders. Lady, huh? Reinhardt would say. I wasn't pegging you for the type to be one to use titles. Subaru would stop saying, well, if he continues to want to be protecting his friends like this, then it'd probably be best for him to get the title of knight as soon as possible so none of these wannabes can show him up. Or at least, you know, give them the dignity of saying that they didn't get beat by some random guy. Subaru would smirk. Maybe I'll become the Sword Saint. I have a small smile on his face, saying that Subaru really is unpredictable. Once again grabbing the side of his dragon blade and feeling the sheath open. Once again being surprised that this Subaru Nautski is actually worthy of the dragon sword reed. Reinhardt would tell Subaru that the next time they come to the capital, he should have Emillia challenge Felt to a duel with their knights, saying that he'll gladly take Subaru on any time. Subaru would run back down to where all the other knights were, as he would then say sorry to each of them individually, telling them not to make fun of other people though, or he'll come back and beat them again. Julius would have this uncanny look on his face, surprised at how Subaru's tone and attitude changed so quickly. Subaru correcting him and saying that he's just fulfilling his, what's the word? My lady's orders, as you guys would say in the tights. Julius would sigh, giving in as he would take Subaru's hand, saying he's way stronger than he thought he was for being such a loudmouth. Subaru would raise an eyebrow, asking what that means. Subaru patting Julius's arm, saying heal up good, so he can fight him again. Anyway, if you guys learned anything from this, it's don't look on someone based on their appearances. If you'd already known that, then this wouldn't have even happened to begin with. Subaru would turn his hand waving as half of the knights would be confused, wondering if they are supposed to respect him for being able to take on half of the entire knight order, not to mention actually best Julius, who is a master in spirit arts and combat, or be angry at his tone and horrible manners, not to mention his considerable amount of abuse that he had done to one of the peacekeeping orders in the entire kingdom. In the scenes, behind the scenes, I'll say Reinhardt was the one to actually clear up all the issues that Subaru caused. For one, by saying that if the knights were more competent, then they could have actually defeated Subaru, now couldn't they? This pretty much shutting up all of them, including Julius. But that won't be the end of problems for Subaru. Subaru walking back to his room where he was supposed to be healing and resting his magic power so that Felix could actually heal him from the last time he had exuded all of his magic power to defeat two people who were hired assassins and an entire army of mob beasts, but had instead used even more magic and had now taken physical abuse, which had been healed physically at least by Reinhardt. Felix would throw a massive punch in the side of Subaru's head, his neck slowly turning as he asked what that's for. Felix saying that none of his patients are ever going to do that, ever, if they want to be treated from him. Got it? You do that ever again? And I'll leave you to the wolves. Subaru would gulp, saying he's sorry. Amelia would be waiting for him in his room, asking if she had done as she said, saying she'll go ask Julius himself if it's true. Subaru would go on his knees, bowing and saying that he's sorry to Emillia, telling Emillia with a hushed voice that he had done exactly as she said, but those guys totally deserved it. Some of them were total assholes. Emillia would step down Subaru's head, asking what is he thinking. Subaru thinking inside himself and wondering if this is going to awaken something in him. Emillia saying his punishment is that he's going to have to stay here and do nothing for the next 2 weeks. That means no coming back to the mansion, just resting, and when you come back, Rem and Ram had suggested this for you. You will be in charge of all of the cleaning for all of the bathroom facilities in the mansion for an entire month. Subaru, looking at the carpet, would begin to be considering, or I should say reconsidering his actions. Emillia would say that Rem will be staying by Subaru's side until he's recovered, saying that Felix is going to perform some sort of test on him for a while to find out what's going on with his gates, and only after that's completed will I forgive you. Subaru would say yes ma'am, as Emillia would stand up saying she's leaving, walking out the door and just as she's about to close it saying, that was pretty cool though, as she walks out. Being impressed once again by Subaru's sheer power and ridiculously strong-headedness. Subaru would smile, saying it was definitely worth it, seeing Emillia smile instead of crying. That's how it's supposed to be. Subaru would lay on his bed looking up smiling, thinking that today was a fun day. Little though would Subaru and the rest of the Emillia camp know what threat was slowly approaching towards the Roswaal estate, approaching its clutches around Emillia. That, of course, being the witch archbishop, and the threat known as the white whale. If you guys want to see the next part for what if Subaru was a shadow dragon slayer, make sure to hit the like button, comment below your thought, and subscribe to my channel for more videos on this and other anime series from me. This part was pretty in-depth and intensive on this small in-between between the arcs. I normally wouldn't do this, but I really wanted to go in great detail about this specific scene, that being the Subaru's outburst at the royal selection, as well as the subsequential battle with the knights. Subaru here is a pretty different person, and Emilia's reaction to the original Subaru is almost the same. It's Subaru's response here that really changes how Emillia reacts. See, in the original, Subaru had this really nasty outburst where he told Emillia how much she owed him for all the times he had died from a turn by death. This Subaru, even if he had died more than the times he has, probably wouldn't be saying that anyway. This Subaru, having relied on his own strength and being taught by Skiadron for so long, that I couldn't see this Subaru ever saying that to Emillia or any of his friends. That Fairytail value of friendship almost being etched into his soul. But anyway, this was a pretty fun part. Next part, we're going to be getting into some more darker concepts with ReZero, as well as how Subaru's going to be facing some world-threatening level threats. That's a tongue twister. And how he's going to deal with them with his current status as both a human and just his mental state and his power. Once again, if you guys want that next part to come sooner, make sure to get this video to 300 likes. I think that's pretty doable considering, you know, with a little push from me, we got it there last time. So this part was pretty hype. So, you know, you could hit the like button and you'll get the next part all the sooner. Anyway, I'll see you guys then. Bye.